Hi, my name is Riley Allen. This is my review of Chapter 8 of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief titled We Capture a Flag. So we start off with Percy, describing some of his lessons. He's learning Ancient Greek from Annabeth, which it doesn't make sense that he's learning Ancient Greek from someone who's the same age as him. I kind of feel like it'd be better if, he was learning it from Luke. Like, instead of having a, dedicated teacher for Ancient Greek, it just falls to the cabin head, which would be Luke. I kind of feel like they're also having Annabeth teach him, like, history and whatever, and I get that they want Annabeth to be an important character, but I don't think this is the part that she should play just yet. You didn't need to name drop Annabeth. You could have just had him just say he learned Ancient Greek. He was learning Ancient Greek without dropping Annabeth, because it kind of feels weird that, are they so understaffed that they gotta outsource to one of their own campers who's only 12? He then recounts that he was learned foot races with nymphs, and he didn't like that he was technically slower than a tree, but they comforted him by saying, it's okay, we got centuries of running from lovesick gods. Why was that a throwaway line? That is not okay. That's not okay. That's not okay. He was learning wrestling with Clarice, or at least he was paired up against Clarice. He at least was learning archery with Chiron. He sucked, though. Really bad. Ended up firing an arrow into Chiron's tail, despite him being behind him, apparently. How that happens, I don't know. So it got to the point where, Luke was thinking he might be a son of Hermes. A master of, a jack of all trades, a master of none. And this has got to be one of the first instances that I've actually heard that full saying, said out, or written out. It's usually just a jack of all trades part that's said, not the master of none. Anyway, he's having his first sword lesson, and it's with Luke, which I guess is kind of like a rite of passage, I guess, getting your ass whooped by Luke, as everybody else seems excited. He gets his ass whooped, but he notices that Luke is, dumping water on his head, so he does the same, getting a boost, which allows him to defeat Luke by, executing a move that Luke himself says is hard to do. Of course, he says beginner's luck, but, it was really just, I guess kind of a power boost, giving him that edge. Basically dousing him, giving him an extra power boost to maybe, overpower Luke. Like, the water probably put Percy back to how he began, while Luke was, just cooled off from the waters, as he didn't get the boost. He's still, kind of winded from the sparring they did. What little they did, anyways. Luke is definitely one of those teachers who absolutely wants to push the students to the best. Also, definitely enjoys beating the shit out of his students. That is for sure. So he meets up with Grover on top of the lava wall. Who invented the lava wall? And how does that fit in with Greek mythology? Anyway, they do it, and then they have a conversation, And Grover kind of explains the searcher's license about what it is, but not really. He basically explains that, that's kind of the dream for the satyrs. But he can't do it because he has failed his mission with Percy, kind of. I say kind of because Mr. D ruled that he neither failed nor succeeded. So, and since that was the second try, the only way he'll get another chance is if Percy gets a quest and takes him on it, which has Grover down, because why would Percy take him on a quest? But, Percy comforts him by saying, if I get a quest, you're the first I'm picking. Of course, Percy's asking about the underworld because, yeah. Then Grover explains about the Big Three and how they swore after World War II, which is basically a kind of semi-civil war between the children of the Big Three, they all swore on the River Styx to not have children again. Unfortunately, Zeus fell off the wagon and had Talia, and a satyr, which we're going to learn in the book was Grover, was set to protect her. But Hades, not liking, that oath and broken oath, plus, other factors we're going to learn in later books, sent monsters to hunt her. Not wanting to live, being hunted, she just chose to sacrifice herself for her friends. Where she was turned into a pine tree, which is not the sacred tree of Zeus, I don't think. I think it's like the sacred tree of Dionysus and Poseidon. I kind of see it more as Dionysus doing it. Because think, he is the director of the camp. He was probably, we don't know how long he's technically been there, but I'm assuming he was there right then. And I'm thinking, this wasn't, so, like, we're going to learn in book 2, that when Thalia's tree is wounded, the border fails. So that means there was no protective border before Thalia was, turned into a tree. I see this as Dionysus both giving himself less work because, now that there's a border up, they're relatively safe once, they get to camp. That's less shit he's got to do. And B, he's got kids, man. If he may not give a shit about all the other demigods, but he probably cares about his. So, I'm thinking that's for sure Dionysus. Anyway, and Grover kind of explains how satyrs go to the schools, and how they call Chiron when, they usually find a Big Three kid, which has Percy, connecting a few dots because, people have been calling him Big Three material, and then Chiron said he was something special, and Grover, realizing how big of a mess that'd be, started backtracking, and like, nah, you're probably, just like one of the minor gods, like Nemesis. Now, folks, Nemesis, the god of revenge. Now, folks, obviously this is just a mistake by Rick, but folks, the funnier option is that Nemesis is trans. Come on. I know that's not the way he goes with it. He just never acknowledges this mistake. If anything, it's really less a mistake on his. He can just wave it away by saying it was Grover being panicky. But folks, he had a golden opportunity to do the funniest thing. Anyway, Nemesis successful transitioning aside, it's time for capture the flag, and Percy is given border duty. So he's given border duty because Luke and Annabeth realize that the Ares kids, led by Clarice, will go straight after him. It's a solid plan, especially since by Annabeth's own admission, she was coming to help him, but he had it covered. Here's the thing, it's a great plan. It'd be even better if you told it to Percy. Or if you actually just spared like 1 or 2 people to stick with him, sure, use Percy as bait, but give him a backup. Because mind you, Percy has been at this camp for less than a week, has 1 sword training lesson under his belt, is now going to be going 1v5. And up until now, he didn't know what capture the flag was. Like, he was confused when he was handed a real sword. Anyway, he wins the fight through the power of bullshit. I mean, water. Snapping Clarice's spear, which was electric. Oh, another thing. During the fight, Percy says, "No maiming," and one of the kids says, "Oops, looks like I lost my dessert privilege." What? I hope this was just like sarcasm or some shit. What? I hope that's not the real punishment. Chiron, what camp are you running, bro? Dear Lord. Anyway, Annabeth comes in, and Percy is understandably pissed. Fair enough. Okay, there is a difference between, volunteering to be the bait when you know you got backup, and getting your ass whooped by thinking getting your ass whooped while you were under the impression that you got the safe job. Never you mind that he won. He only won because of the creek. Any other terrain, he was getting his ass whooped. But before the fight happened, he heard a low canine growl, and we later learned that it was a hellhound. It jumped out to attack him, and to Annabeth's immense credit, you gotta give her credit, she attempted to step in front of Percy. I will give her this. I'm not her biggest fan so far, but I'll give her that. That was awesome. That was awesome. So it attacked Percy, and they realized it was summoned. And Clarice, the great person she is, accused Percy because, yes, Clarice, Percy summoned a hellhound to attack and damn near kill him. Great observation skills, girl. You're gonna go far. Anyway, Annabeth, is putting two and two together because when Percy was in the creek, his arm cut wound healed. So she shoves him into the creek to heal him, which basically kind of forces Poseidon's dramatic ass to claim him. And that's how it ends. That's how the chapter ends. Overall, I think this is probably my favorite chapter so far. I mean, there's some iffy bits about it, but I think this is by far my most favorite chapter. I'm going to give it a... I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you next video.